Hello everyone, my name is Greg and I dev stuff. Welcome everyone to episode 3 of Stardew Valley-like game in Unity. In this episode we will expand on interactive elements of the game. As I said in previous episode, I ordered 2 sprite sheets for us, for main character. I offer them for free in the links below. Thank you very much to all people who support me on Patreon. Your contribution makes this possible. First, let's implement the new sprite sheets into the game. Our walking cycle is animating too fast. To slow it down, we need to decrease the sample rate in the animator. I feel like 4 for walk cycle is good enough. Good. In this episode, we will introduce stuff like an ability to open chests for loot, or talk to somebody. Later on we will expand it with stuff like switches or opening the doors. Before we start implementing, let's sort our project. Move scripts into their own folder, and create and move all prefabs into their own folder too. Then create and add a new script to our character called, well, character. It will contain description or references to everything character related. For now, leave it empty. We need an art for our chest. And once again, open game art to the rescue. I pulled out the chest from the link you can find in the description. Again, please say hi and thank you to the artist who made this piece of art. Set it up and slice it up in our sprite editor. Because we don't have intermediate animation frames, we can simplify our implementation of the chest. Our chest can only be in two states, open or closed. So create an empty object and store two sprites on this object. Hide opened one. Then select chest object and add box collider to D, so we will be able to collide and interact with this chest. Okay, for 3 we created toolhead base class. So now we want to create a new base interactable class, so we will be able to detect interactable objects similar to the toolhead. Because interaction is a different kind of action in comparison to toolhead, we will be creating a new base class called Interactable. Create a new script called Interactable. We will be inheriting from this class, so define virtual interact method. this character as a parameter, so we will be able to apply any effect to our character. Select the chest on the scene and create another new script called loot container interact. Inside this newly created script, inherit from the Interactable and implement virtual method. Inside the interact method, for now, what we want to do is to switch the state of the container from being closed to open. To do this, declare a serialized bool variable called opened, and two serialized game object variables, one for open container and one for closed container. So in the onInteract we check if the open variable is false. In that case we will add items to our character. For now let's switch the closed container off and open container on. So link the objects in the editor. Good. Now we need a mechanism for our character to actually interact with the chest. Select the character and create another new script called character interact controller. Open the newly created script. We want to cache the reference to character controller 2D, because we will use last motion vector similar as in tools character controller to determine does our character facing something interactable or not. Okay, because we already have an implementation of detecting object in front of us, let's copy it from the tools character controller and put it here. The only difference will be is that we will be checking for interactable and not tool hit object. Call interact instead of hit, and right mouse button instead of left mouse button to call the interact. To rename the method like this, hold Ctrl and then double tap R like rename. We need to cache characters so we will be able to send it to the interact method as a parameter. Let's test this. Good. Prefab the chest. Well, now we want something to let us know that we have something in front of us and we can interact with it. We need to show some kind of interact marker on the object we can interact with. I put this small marker into the project. We will use it to highlight the objects we are going to interact with. This marker will be available with the characters to download. Make it order in layer as something very high, so it will always be on top of everything, because its purpose is to be a highlighter, so it should always be visible. Select the game manager. Create another new script called highlight controller. This script will be responsible for highlighting objects, so declare a serialized game object variable called highlighter. Then we want to create a new public method called highlight with target of type game object as a parameter. Inside we will get and store the position of the game object into the variable. And send it to a new overload method highlight, which will accept position of type vector3. Inside this method we will enable our highlighter and set its position based on the parameter. Create a new public method called hide, which will disable the highlight. Let's go back to the highlight with the object as a parameter. And let's create a new variable which will store the reference to the currently highlighted target. Then in the highlight we will check if our new target does not equal to the current target object. Add the exit clause. If it is the same object, so we will not execute everything if it is unnecessary, because it is the same target. Otherwise, store the reference to the new target and nullify it in the hide. In the interact controller, create serialized reference to the highlight controller. And in the update, when you detect the target, pass it as a highlight target. Good, let's test this. As you can see, if you look away now, you will see that highlighters still stay on the target. So we need to determine that we are not looking at the object anymore and hide our highlighter. If there is no interactable targets, hide the highlighter. To do this, let's replace break to return. If at least one interactable object is detected, it will move the highlighter on it and return out of the method. But if the execution did not return out of the method, it means no interactable object were found and the marker can be hidden. I don't like that we repeat ourselves multiple times in this script, but we will refactor this script a little later. Now let's add a character with who we can have a conversation. So drop the other character on the map. Add box collider 2D. We will animate him later. And then create another new script called talk interact. Inside we will inherit from interactable, and on the interact we will post debug message that we are talking with the target. In the next episode we will implement the actual discussion with the target. Good, this is it for this episode. If you have any questions or any ideas about code, please leave your comment below. If you are interested in seeing what will come out of this, please subscribe. If you want to support further, you can find my Patreon in the description. With best regards, see you in the next episode.